Today we're diving into a dish that's a fiesta for your taste buds, Chile Relleno Casserole. If you love a smoky richness of roasted peppers and cheesy goodness, then you're in for a treat. I'm Rose Oatley. Let's get cooking. In a large pan, add 1 pound of ground beef. Make sure to break it up as it starts to brown. You want it nice and crumbled. While that's cooking, let's add some potatoes. I've got 2 small to medium-sized russet potatoes cut into small cubes. Toss those in and mix it up. We'll let these cook for a couple of minutes. Once everything is looking good, drain any excess fat from the pan. We want all the flavor without the grease. Next, let's bring in some aromatics. I'm adding half of a small onion, diced up. As always, you can find all ingredients and items I use in my kitchen in the description below or in my bio for other platforms. Add 2 minced garlic cloves, equivalent to 2 teaspoons. Give it a good stir and let those flavors meld together. For seasoning, I'm adding 1 tablespoon of cumin, 1 tablespoon of oregano, and half a tablespoon of light chili powder. Don't forget to season with salt and pepper to taste. Finally, we're adding 1 cup of water. Mix it all together, then cover the pan and let it simmer on low heat for about 15 to 20 minutes. This will give us some substance and a rich base for our casserole. While our beef is simmering, let's talk about the star of the show, the Poblano peppers. Poblanos are very mild. You'll need about 6 to 8 of these beautiful guys depending on their size. The larger, the better. We're going to roast these until they're beautifully blistered. Normally I do this on a skillet, but today I'm using the oven. Let's crank up that broiler on high. Make sure to turn them every 5 to 10 minutes until they're nice and blackened all over. This roasting process brings out their smoky flavor and makes peeling them a breeze. Once they're nice and blistered, transfer them to a large Ziploc bag. This will help them sweat and loosen that skin. Let them hang out in there for a bit. Now let's check on our beef. This smells good. Looks perfect and ready to go. We'll set it aside for now. Now it's time to whip up our egg batter. Start by grabbing a mixing bowl and adding in 6 egg whites. Make sure to save the yolks in a separate bowl. We'll need them in just a bit. Now let's mix those 6 egg whites on high speed until they're fluffy and form soft peaks. Just look at that texture. Once your egg whites are nice and fluffy, add in the egg yolks. Then add 1/3 cup of flour, 1/4 cup of milk, ½ teaspoon baking powder, and ½ teaspoon salt. Now mix it all together on medium heat around a number 4, not high, until everything is well combined. Your batter should look light and airy just like this. Perfect. Let's set this aside while we finish prepping our roasted peppers. Take each poblano pepper and carefully remove the stem and seeds. You can use a knife or just your hands, whichever you prefer. I usually like to give them a quick rinse afterwards to get rid of any leftover seeds. Also, don't forget to peel off the outer skin. It should come off easily after roasting, and this will help enhance the flavor of our casserole. Once you have them all cleaned up, set them aside and grab a baking dish. It's time to assemble our casserole. First things first, let's spray our baking dish to prevent sticking. You don't want your delicious creation getting stuck in the pan. Now pour a layer of that fluffy egg batter right on the bottom. This will be our base. Next, let's start layering in those roasted poblano peppers. These seem to have really softened in the oven. If you've never had chile rellenos, the poblano peppers are normally stuffed, then fried in the egg batter. It's a Mexican dish. This is just a casserole version of it. Now add a layer of Oaxaca shredded cheese. It's best if you shred your own for the freshest flavor, but today I'm cheating a bit and using some bagged cheese for the bottom layer since I only have a small portion of fresh Oaxaca cheese. Now let's pile on our flavorful meat and potato mixture. If you prefer a meatless option, feel free to skip this step, but I love that extra substance it adds. Next up, we're adding another layer of those delicious poblanos. And of course, another layer of cheese. If you can't find Oaxaca cheese in your area, mozzarella works just as well. I'm going to sprinkle a little more beef for good measure because who doesn't love a hearty casserole? Then let's pour on another layer of the egg batter. Since I'm using a smaller baking dish today, I added an extra layer of beef. This is also good for a larger baking dish. You'll just have less layers. Look at this gorgeous grated fresh Oaxaca cheese. I only had a small ball, but it will be perfect for our top layer. Let's add a nice generous layer of cheese to finish this off. Now we're ready to bake. Pop this in a preheated oven at 350 degrees Fahrenheit or 177 degrees Celsius and let it bake for about 30 to 40 minutes until it's golden and bubbly. While our casserole is baking, let's whip up a fresh salsa to go with it. Start by bringing a pot of water to a boil and adding 3 Roma tomatoes and 1 serrano pepper. We'll cook these until they're tender. While that's cooking, let's move over to the blender. I'm adding in 1 small bunch of cilantro, 3 garlic cloves, 1 teaspoon of cumin, 1 teaspoon of oregano, 1 teaspoon of salt, and half a cup of water. Once your tomatoes are softened, remove the skin and toss them into the blender. If you like things spicy, go ahead and remove the stem from your serrano pepper and add the serrano in there. For just a slight kick, you can just use a quarter of the serrano. And if spice isn't your thing, feel free to leave it out. Here's a little optional step. Sometimes I fry a corn tortilla and toss it in the blender with a salsa. It adds a wonderful depth of flavor. Now let's blend it all up until it's nice and smooth. Once blended, heat a little oil in a pan and pour in your salsa to heat it up a bit. I like to add a layer of salsa to the bottom of my plate, but you can also drizzle it on top of your casserole slice if you prefer. Okay, our casserole should be ready. It baked for a full 40 minutes. Just remember, every oven is a little different, so keep an eye on it. Once it's out, run a knife around the edges to loosen it up a bit. Let's cut up a slice. Actually, let me see how many slices this smaller baking dish will give me. It looks like 6. It's actually perfect. By the way, I usually serve this with Mexican rice and beans. Rice recipe can be found on my channel. I love to drizzle some Mexican crema on top for that creamy finish. It's similar to sour cream, but a bit runnier and delicious. All right, take a look at this gorgeous casserole before we dive in for the taste test. It looks absolutely mouth-watering. Now it's time for the taste test. So good. The first thing that hits you is that irresistible aroma of roasted poblano peppers mingling with that savory ground beef and spices. The smoky heat from the peppers, the savory depth of the beef, and the creamy drizzle of the Mexican crema ties it all together. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more videos like this, you can support me by liking, sharing, and don't forget to subscribe for more delicious recipes. Also, be sure to check out these videos on the side. Thanks for your support and happy cooking!